Hundreds of people across Australia have been cheated out of millions of dollars by a Queensland-based gambling scam, and a former police detective is alleged to be at its centre. The state's Crime and Corruption Commission is investigating Michael Featherstone's links to both former and serving Gold Coast police officers and his role in setting up and running a number of alleged scam companies. A 4-month ABC investigation has uncovered emails and other evidence showing Mr Featherstone's direct involvement in the companies, and there are serious allegations that he may have been protected by police for years. Reporter Mark Willisey and producer Mark Solomons with this report.
When you look at the money that has been made in these scams, you're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars.
None of the authorities, the police, the ACCC or the Office of Fair Trading in any state will do anything. They've had a decade to do something and they've totally ignored it.
Famed for its flesh pots, notorious for its bikie wars, the Gold Coast has yet another dark side. This is a story about how hundreds of people have been fleeced by a group of slick syndicates, which have operated for years with apparent impunity, promoted under the guise of legitimate sports betting companies.
It's the ultimate scam. Disguise it as gambling so that the police are not interested. These sports betting syndicates are certainly up with the drug syndicates as far as the profits go.
Veteran private investigator Ken Gamble has been digging into sports betting and software syndicates for years, identifying a major network on the Gold Coast. He even sent the police a detailed brief in an effort to get an investigation going.
And what response did you get?
No response. There's a general feeling that certain individuals on the Gold Coast are almost given the green light.
The syndicates operate out of so-called boiler rooms, anonymous officers staffed with telemarketers promising people they can beat the odds.
Would you be interested in a trial run?
They sell sports prediction software for up to $16,000 a pop, with buyers assured by the promoters they'll never lose. They also lure people into betting syndicates, where for thousands of dollars investors are promised a share in profits from gambling. While some may be legitimate businesses, others have been found to be illegal pyramid schemes or just plain fake.
A lot of the major scams, the ones that have taken big money, have disguised themselves as betting operations, but there's no betting actually gone on. So all the money's been cleaned out the back door, straight into the pockets of the people involved in running the companies.
Last year, Caboolture couple Trevor and Adolpha Clark saw an ad for a company calling itself UK Home-Based Business. It offered a regular income at low risk, based on a scheme where bets on horse races were made on the investor's behalf.
We're extremely happy with it and everything was going wonderfully. And then on the 21st of February we got an email saying, oh sorry, the accounts are suspended.
The company blamed a software provider which it said had interfered. Despite promises everything would be ironed out, the Clark's $80,000 investment disappeared.
We're relying on the money as an income for repaying our mortgage. It's quite likely that we'll lose our house eventually.
Even before the Clarks lost their money, private investigator Ken Gamble was on the trail. His investigations led him to a man called Mick Featherstone, whose name kept cropping up when he dug into Gold Coast scams.
He's an ex-police officer turned private investigator, somebody that's been on the Gold Coast for a long time and has established relationships on both sides of the fence.
Mick Featherstone is a former Queensland detective who left the force under a cloud. He served in the fraud squad and at one time headed the Surfers Paradise CIB. Featherstone was cross-examined at the 1997 Carter inquiry into police involvement in the drug trade, over thousands in drug money that went missing after a bust he led.
Surfers Paradise detectives unearthed the money at a Gold Coast home in 1995 after a tip-off from federal police. Mr Featherstone agreed one bundle of $100 notes seemed to have gone missing.
Featherstone said this could have been due to a photographic error. In a statement to the ABC issued through his lawyers, The former detective says he was formally cleared of all allegations raised at the Carter inquiry. By this time, Mick Featherstone was out of the force, allowed by the police commissioner to retire at just 33. He left behind a controversial career. He'd been the subject of investigations over allegations of planting drugs on a suspect, and also over his connections to a barrister who was the subject of a police inquiry. After leaving the police, he set up a private investigations company, Phoenix Global.
Phoenix Global is the choice of legal practitioners for criminal defence investigations, re-interviewing Crown witnesses, ensuring the full story is out in the open and all aspects are exposed.
But Mick Featherstone wasn't content with just being a gumshoe, so he branched out into a much more sophisticated business operation.
So this is a link chart showing all the various companies that he's been involved with, past and present. It raises a question about his involvement with these bookmaking companies and betting exchange and all the rest of it.
Ken Gamble has tried to unravel the spider web of companies linked to Mick Featherstone, with a dozen of them alleged to be scams. One is the sports betting and software prediction syndicate, UK home-based business. On the surface, Mick Featherstone has no official links with the company, and in his statement to the ABC, he denies having anything to do with the management of this or any other betting syndicates or software prediction companies. But 7:30 has tracked down an insider who tells a very different story. Security guard Johnny Kane says it was Featherstone who arranged for him to be appointed the director of UK home-based business. Kane says his role was to be the front man for the companies, and he was told all he had to do was sign cheques and not much else.
He basically said to me, "Oh look, we pay you per company $350 a company, and if you could potentially be signed on to maybe 2 or 3 companies, and you could get paid that weekly. Would you be interested in that?" And I said, "Oh well, is it illegal?" And they said, "No, it's not illegal." And he's the sort of guy that, if he's a retired senior sergeant from the Queensland Police, from the organised crime unit, 17 years service. I mean, if you can't trust that bloke, then who can you trust?
For Johnny Kane, it was easy money.
Someone would ring me and say, "Oh, hey, can you come in and sign a cheque or sign a chequebook, and we'll give you some money and thanks very much," and I'd be out again.
Some of the money Johnny Kane was signing for was going from unsuspecting investors directly into funding the lavish lifestyles of some of the people running the scams.
I was asked every now and then to go and sign a credit card, go to the penthouse at Sobertel and sign a credit card for a slip for somebody that was staying at the penthouse, like very extravagant lifestyle.
One of those extravagant lifestyles was being led by this man, Phil Cropper, a Featherstone associate who ran the sales operation of UK home-based business. Cropper is a former nightclub owner who was charged and later acquitted of trying to extort Russell Crowe, allegedly threatening to release a video of the actor in a fight outside his nightclub. These bills from the Sofitel at Broadbeach were charged to UK home-based business last year by Phil Cropper, who in a 3-week spree racked up $9,000 on luxury suites, minibar, adult movies, valet parking and room service.
I was told on some good weeks they could make nearly $500,000.
The sting came to a head at the end of last year. Johnny Kane was instructed to pull out $600,000 in 1 week alone.
And we're talking $40,000 per cheque, 3 times a day, for about a week. I naturally asked, "What's this money for?" And they said, "Oh, it's just wages. We're just winding it up before Christmas, and this is just, wages for staff and profits from the horse racing software."
By this time, Johnny Kane suspected the whole setup was dodgy, so he photographed the wads of cash from one withdrawal as evidence. Kane received this instruction to close the bank accounts. The scammers ripped off more than $4 million. UK home-based business disappeared, its office was emptied and its website taken down. Hundreds of investors were left with nothing. Johnny Kane was left holding the can.
I'm being sued and having judgments against me. I rang Mick and he didn't even want to know about me. Yeah. I was just a joke to them. I was just a puppet or just a fall guy.
West Australian man and keen sailor Alex Herbertson had a friend lose tens of thousands in a Gold Coast-based scam, so he started digging. But when he passed on what he found to the police, they weren't interested.
In the early days, I actually rang up the Queensland Fraud Squad, and after a while got through to a guy and spoke to him and gave him some information. And rather interestingly, I got a phone call not long after that from someone saying, "You don't want to be talking to the police about that."
And before long, he started getting anonymous threats. One was in a note he found on his boat.
It said, "We know where you live, we have your phone number, we have your wife's phone number, last warning."
To this day, he still doesn't know who was behind that warning, and he has no direct evidence linking Mick Featherstone to the threats. Investigator Ken Gamble believes Mick Featherstone could not have operated for so long or so openly on the Gold Coast without protection.
Somewhere along the line there has been influence by certain police officers that have had possibly control of these cases. There has been influence by somebody not to investigate certain cases that involve certain people. And one of those people is Michael Featherstone.
Mick Featherstone left the force under a cloud, but he continues to socialise with senior police. He even gave a speech late last year at the farewell of a high-ranking Gold Coast officer. One concerned police detective approached his superiors and raised Featherstone's close relationship with this senior officer. He was told, "Don't go there." Mick Featherstone still runs his private investigations firm on the Gold Coast, and in his statement to this program, he says he has no friendship or association with any serving police officer.
This is a very large-scale operation that has been running under the noses of the Queensland Police Service for many years.
The scams have had tragic consequences. Ray Wagner's father Robert lost tens of thousands of dollars when UK home-based business was shut down.
He felt at that point he'd failed himself and lost everything. Yeah, I think that was the end for him, really.
Robert Wagner sent the company emails begging for his money. They were ignored. In July, he took his own life.
I've just been wondering what they feel, whether they know my father's passed away, and I don't believe that they'd have a heart to even, feel sad for him. I think they'd probably just be grateful that he's not hassling them anymore.
The ABC has uncovered dozens of other investors who have lost their money in this scam. There's also evidence connecting Mick Featherstone to a series of alleged scams dating back almost a decade. But in recent months, Queensland Police have decided to act, opening an investigation into Featherstone, even raiding his office. The ABC can tonight reveal that Queensland's Crime and Corruption Commission has taken over the investigation. And that's because of the possible involvement of senior police in protecting those behind these scams. The CCC's inquiry focuses on Mick Featherstone, his partners, these syndicates, and possible money laundering. We understand that the Commission's acting chairman, Ken Levy, has taken a personal role in what's being called a priority investigation.
There's an ex-police officer involved that has a lot of relationships with police officers. So yes, absolutely. It is the appropriate authority. There has to be a focus on whether or not police have interfered with these cases.
But for some of the victims of these highly organised and ruthless syndicates, it's all a little late.
I'd like to see the truth, the entire truth come out, and I'd like to see them be put before courts for a start.
But rotten sods are using my money and other people's money, living the high life. I hope they all come to grief.